First of all, good morning to everyone who came in a few minutes later. We're finding our way to this new location. This is our second week here, and thank you and welcome. So, along the lines of this new beginning, this Center for Spiritual Living being 12 weeks old and moving to a new location, today's topic is Field of Dreams. Field of Dreams. The premise, of course, of the movie is if you build it, they will come. We all remember that. It had such an impact on us, there's just no way that we can forget that piece. If you build it, they will come. And lots of people have written on that concept and taught it and brought it into their talks and their teachings and their songs. And I'm grabbing it today because it was just the perfect thing to talk about with you this week. Here at this center, and in all of the Centers for Spiritual Living around the world, there are over 450 of them, we teach that if you build it in your imagination, it will come to pass. If you build it in your imagination, it will come to pass. Now, some people may object and say, well, wait a minute. Well, first of all, you tell me if I can build it, they will come. Well, you know, building is hard work. Building takes a long time, and I don't even know if I have the materials for that. What if that's a set of false ideas? What if building doesn't have to be hard? What if it doesn't need to take a long time? What if you do have the materials available? Would you reconsider it? Our founder, Ernest Holmes, has a passage in one of the chapters of the textbook that talks about healing. And I find that this concept about healing applies to everything. He said that there is no process of healing, there is a process in healing, meaning the time that it takes for us to get to the place where we believe. Because the gift has already been given. Every possibility already exists. Everything already is. And we're the ones who have to align with it to allow it to be our reality. Because that is so, it doesn't have to be hard, it doesn't have to take a long time, and yes, all of the materials have already been provided. We're free to see it as something that's hard. We're free to see it as something that takes a long time, and we're free to see ourselves in lack of the necessary materials, or not. So we come to places like this to learn about that and to remember that a lot of what we've been thinking and believing all of our lives about how difficult everything is, how long it's going to take, and how much we don't have what we need, that we can let that go and entertain a different idea and begin to have a different experience. Why do we get together every week with classes in between? Because the wake, the pull, the mesmerizing, magnetizing temptation of the commonly held beliefs can pull us back into forgetting who we truly are and what things truly are, which is that they can be easy, that all has been provided, that anything is possible. So yes, that's part of it. The other part of it is that we use our imagination. We say that if we can build it in our imagination, it will come to pass. Well, there may be some kickback in this area also. Can you think about this? If you go around telling people that you're building something in your imagination, what they might think of you, that's where it can get a little tricky and a little sticky. Because what we need to do is cultivate something first, not just up here, not between our ears, but we need to believe it in our hearts and to hold it there, believing until it shows up. About a month ago, I was talking about Thomas Troward and a piece of what he describes as the creative process in the individual says that we can think of our will as a guide on a power tool. What our will does is guide our imagination, which is the power tool, to set the creative process in motion around a specific idea. That is a very good use of our will. It isn't the power, it is the guide. You can think of that on a router, on a skill saw, a table saw, whatever. It's something that makes sure that that power moves in the correct direction and accomplishes the desired result. Okay, so your imagination starts to sound more like a tool right, than just this airy-fairy thing to be embarrassed about. This thing that seems foolish to believe in. Still, if you go around and think that you need to tell everybody about your process, it's not going to go very well. You know, there are some funny images on the internet, and I don't know where I saw this, but people believing they needed to wear tinfoil hats to tune into something, or, you know, all kinds of crazy stuff. At this point, have we not been through the gamut between the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and right now? Every time we think that something major is beginning or ending or happening or about to happen, and we think that it's a certain posture, it's a certain set of steps, it's a certain set of tools, it's a certain bunch of gear, you know, and we get all excited and we tell everybody about our process. We might be working on something that's spiritual in nature. We might be working on something that has to do with our psychological development, healing, well-being, you know, our inner child. We might have something that we're working on that has to do with our physical well-being, and there's this compulsion to share, right? Well, if you are working on building something in your imagination, your field of dreams, do you think it's wise to follow that compulsion without discernment? Probably not. There's a funny cartoon that my co-minister showed me, 10 years ago, I think. It was of two men all dressed in white with long flowing silver hair. And they both had a peaceful look on their faces. And by the way, I think I'm going to need a drink of water. Would you help me with that? I didn't think about that. So, the two men are both dressed in white. They have long flowing silver hair and a peaceful look on their faces. One of them is sitting in a lotus position underneath a tree, meditating. The other one is up in the tree, not meditating. And his white top has arms that go like this, if you know what I mean. It's a straitjacket. And the caption reads, thank you. Guess which one of these knew who not to tell? We really want to share. We really want to share. Whether we're doing something in our spiritual growth or our personal development or a new health kick. You know, how many times have I said always and never? You know, I can't tell you how many times I've been a vegetarian, a vegan, lacto-ovo, all of the above, none of the above, run every day, don't run at all, work out like a fiend, never even see the inside of a gym. I stopped declaring. There are other things like career choices that I've made. I said that I was leaving the yachting industry forever, but I kept going back because there would be an invitation to go to Europe, the Bahamas, or the Virgin Islands, or somewhere more exotic every time. I stopped saying never. The thing is, of course, when we're growing, when we're discovering, when we're developing something within ourselves, maybe we're overcoming a limitation, we want to share. We want to tell everybody all about it. And the key is not to avoid doing that, but to be discerning about who we share with. The other funny thing, which is a little bit too over the top to show you in this room, but on the minister's listserv, there's been a video going around called, it's almost like stuff New Age girls say, but one of the words is different, and I won't say it here. But it's this funny video of how we can get so caught up in all of our practices and processes, and we've got to tell everybody all about them. And then what do? We start diagnosing our friends. We start telling them about their stuff, and pretty soon we may find ourselves more alone. The other thing that happens with that, truly, is that if I tell you too much about this new life I'm cultivating, this new thing that I am growing in my imagination is so precious. It doesn't have roots yet. It doesn't have a strong trunk or branches. It doesn't have leaves or flowers or fruit yet. If I tell you too soon, what I do is I defeat myself. I let the wind out of my own sails. I cut out my own dream because I shared it too soon. Our father, and Betty Ann over there is my sister, our dad used to say something to me all the time about not sharing things too soon. And he said, imagine that it's like a tender shoot. It needs all of the conditions in order to grow nice and strong. And there will come a time when you can share it with the elements, when you can expose it to more people, places, and things. But see if you can hold off on that. So the truth is, it's not really about being embarrassed about our growth. It's that we really want to choose who we share it with so we can be supported and successful in it. That's the truth of that. The other thing that happens is that you still get found out. You'll get found out for things like daring to dream, cultivating something in your imagination, daring to imagine something and start doing that other people in your family and your circle of friends have said, well, that's not possible. In fact, that's not right. You can't do that. There's just no way. Because what are you doing? You might be breaking the rules. You might be going against everything that you two have agreed so far is normal or possible or done. And what happens is when you step out and say, you know what, I'm going for my field of dreams. I'm going to build something in my imagination. I'm going to cultivate something that I haven't done before. I'm going for it. And it might be because of a situation or a circumstance that really compelled you to take a closer, deeper look at your life. It could be because of something that happened academically. It could be that something that happened socially. It could be something that happened to you in your personal life. Something. Often, by the way, it's an experience with a friend or a family member that invites you to take a deeper look at your own. In any case, something might have brought you to a place where you decided to step out, to imagine anew, and to do things that were previously thought by your family, by your tribe, by your club, by your group, by your friends, your posse, whatever, to be impossible, unattainable. And you went for it. You will get found out. One way that happens is that you stop agreeing with those people that you used to hang out with, that you used to do those things with. I had this happen in my life about 26 years ago. I made a major, major life change. And let me tell you, it wasn't the kind of thing where I was busy studying what's good for me now and deciding that I was going to do something radical to change my experience. I went all the way to the end of what wasn't working, in denial, claw marks, all of that stuff, trying not to realize it was time for this shift to take place. And then the perfect moment came when I was ready and everything that I required was right there for me, and I made a choice that changed my life. What happened, though, is that all the people that I used to spend all my time with every day, day in, day out, we had our routine down. Let me tell you, we did the same thing. Every day, without exception, you could set your clocks by it. Okay? Everything. And what did I do? I stopped showing up. I went somewhere else. I met new people. I started doing new things. I found ways to say, you know, I think I'm going to be over here today. I found ways to say, no thank you. I think I'm going to have this today. I found ways to move onto my new path and to start building my field of dreams in my imagination and to do something different. And two things happen simultaneously. This is the hero's journey. This is the way it is, no matter what you're choosing. You might be simply choosing a different pattern of behavior in your family or your circle of friends. Or you might be doing something radical, like changing what you eat or drink. You might be doing something really radical, like working hard or studying instead of sitting around, or whatever it is. It will upset the apple cart. It will mess with the status quo. It will bring about something in those other people that you've been spending time with. We just can't seem to help it. It's unconscious I had people who were actually offended by my choice to get help for myself. I never said a word about them, but I stopped agreeing with them by doing the same thing that we had been doing. So I was different. I was stepping out. I was proving that I was discovering my own individuality, my own path, my own way, my own timing. And the way that this works is that for a while, you do end up alone. And you may be seen as one who has abandoned those closest to you. This is a classic model of codependence. One person in the family system decides to get well. Guess what? Big storm. There's an opportunity for everybody else involved to either go on or stop being with you. Unfortunately, part of what happens when we individuate and keep doing that again and again and discovering who we truly are and becoming more and more authentic and expressing who we truly are is that we become more unique. We become aware that we're not actually always thinking and feeling and having the same priorities and values all the time. And again, it's not something that, some people do proselytize and make speeches and try to save everyone once they've discovered there's a great new path they're on, whatever it is. But the other thing is simply that when we make these shifts in our lives, they do have an influence on other people. So let's just say what happened in my experience with my circle of friends is that they felt like, well, darn. It was around Christmas time, by the way, and there were Christmas parties, and the first big pressure was, well, I'm hosting a party, and I'm going to be the only girl there. You have to come. I decided to go, and it was awful. It was just awful, because I had to just keep saying no to all my friends over and over again. But I had to learn. I had to learn how to say, I'm on this path. It has nothing to do with you. I'm on this path. So one of the things that can happen in those moments when we decide to have our field of dreams, when we decide to cultivate something in our imagination and let a new life begin to take shape and form, is that, yes, other people around us will feel as if they have to choose between their loyalty to and their comfort in that thing, whatever it is, and us. And I thought this was a unique experience. I thought maybe that this was just something that I was going through, but it's mythical, it's ancient, it's part of being, it's part of growing. Here's what happens though. I know I wasn't abandoning anyone. I was actually just showing up for me. So I had to just let time take time. I knew that I might feel alone for a while, and boy did I ever. But in time I discovered that there were other people on this new path that I chose who had done the same thing. There was this whole culture that had arisen by other people making similar choices. And that's really true, by the way, of whatever it is we're talking about. There'll be a moment when your friends and family say, well, gosh, you must not love me if you're choosing to do this new thing. What do I do? That's when we get to learn that it's up to each of us to make that choice ourselves. So moving along that path, what happens next, though, is that other people show up. And as we dare to be authentic, we discover other people who share our values, who share our dreams, who share our similar ideas and aspirations. And we're able to talk with them, and it isn't funny. We're able to talk with them, and when we need to be serious or even reflect on how challenging it can be at times, they're right there, they understand, they have similar stories. We begin to discover a purpose in all of this. And things just keep getting better and better. Of course they do, daring to follow our dreams. Because it's true, if we build it, they will come. If we build it, that which we are seeking will come to pass. If we build it, it will be our reality. There's a nice thing that also happens in the background, if you will. all the way along this is that those people who scoffed at you and thought you were nuts at first, the ones who thought, oh boy, she's really lost her marbles, you should hear what she's doing now, they're still there. But what happens is your life begins to change. And yes, like I said, sometimes you'll accidentally share with the wrong person at the wrong time and say, oh gosh, I wish I hadn't done that. It's okay. Find the people that you can share with and make sure that you have a support network. What happens, though, is that something begins to show up on the outside, that people who are still in your life, or still watching you at least, will begin to notice. A really wise guy, a couple thousand years ago, said something like, seek and ye shall find. Ask and it will be answered. Knock and it will be opened unto you. And of course, because I love to take things and turn them all around, that's my favorite thing to do. What I decided many years ago is that unless someone seeks my opinion, asks me what I think, and knocks at my door, maybe I should wait to tell them about what I think. Maybe I should wait to offer up my free advice until it is requested. Maybe I should wait to tell them all about my process until we're in a scenario where it's being asked about. So we get to this stage where our brave decision, our courageous move has started to produce roots and branches and leaves and flowers and even a harvest. And some of those people, as well as new ones, come along and say, how did you do that? I can't believe the difference in you. How did you do that? I thought that wasn't possible. And so then we have that opportunity when asked to say, well, here's how I did it. When someone seeks us out to say, well, I'd love to sit with you and share how it worked for me. And when someone knocks on our door to open it and say, come on in, I'd love to share with you what has opened up in my life as a result of learning how to do this. What I did is that I followed that initial impulse, and then I found this group of people on that path who were going to this place called the Center for Spiritual Living, Fort Lauderdale. Actually, it had a different name back then. That's another story. That's called rebranding. I went to this place in Fort Lauderdale with my buds. We're like, okay, I can call God anything I want. Spirit, Creator, the Absolute, the I Am Principle. The list was so long, but I'm supposed to find one I really like. And I like to think. I like to think for myself. I like to think freely, and I'm not planning to stop. And I ended up at this place in Fort Lauderdale, in Wilton Manors, where I found out I could do all that. And it stuck. So that first choice became the next one that stayed with me all of these years and brought me to where I am today. And I'll tell you, this is not where I used to be. Not at all. It's kind of funny, but we won't go into that. The thing is, when we can take that leap, when we can allow ourselves to build something in our imagination, the field of dreams does come to pass. And what happens is those who used to scoff look you up later. Let me tell you, they do. A year later, 2 years later, 5 years later, 25 years later, they look you up and they say, where did you get that? How can you be so calm at a time like this? How can you be whatever? Whatever the case is. Because at this point, haven't we all been through all kinds of stuff for our spiritual well-being, our psychological well-being, our physical well-being, back and forth here and there, this and that? But people will look you up and say, how'd you do it? And you have something to share with them. And then that leads to something else, and so on and so on. It is really by each of us daring to step onto our own path, daring to cultivate that field of dreams in our imagination, that we end up bringing heaven to earth, one person, one dream at a time. We end up creating a field of dreams that is manifested, if you will, that is so big that much more of possibility is realized, and it makes it easier for the next one and the next one. We've heard this so many times about the 100th monkey, right? You might be the 100th monkey on your island. You might be the first one in your family or your neighborhood. The thing is that when you get that call, that urge to believe in something that appears to be impossible and you go for it, know that you will be supported. Know that you make the way clearer and easier for the next person, and know that you're actually bringing more of it into the everyday in the process, and that makes it easier for everyone. That's what all this talk is about. All this talk right now is about the distinct possibility that we have done this enough in all of our funny ways that we might actually be reaching a point where it's the norm. It is so available. It's what people are talking about in every corner, in every language, in every fashion. It is no longer hidden or mysterious, but commonplace. And what does that do but make it easier for the rest of everyone, of all of us, to wake up and to live the life we were intended to have, to live our field of dreams, and to put away our nightmares. We can do that by each of us following that dream one heart at a time.